The post-war settlement had a major role to play in the Middle East conflict in the later part of the 20th century. With the formation of League of Nations, Britain and France got hold of Arab states as mandates. The Palestinian Arab saw their hopes of independence finally dashed as it had become the British mandate. The role of U.S. President Wilson is important to mention here, as he promoted self-determination of newly independent states of Arab people. At the same time, he supported the idea of a national home for the Jews in Palestine. For Palestinian Arabs, the year 1920, when all this decision took place, referred to as the year of catastrophe. Here, the role of Lawrence of Arabia is worth to be mentioned. Lawrence felt that Amir Hussein had been humiliated by the Sykes-Picot Agreement. As Hussein had supported the British cause, Lawrence advised the British government to install Hussein's son, Faisal, as the king of Syria. As Syria became the French mandate, in 1921, Faisal was dethroned. British then made him the king of Iraq, and made his older brother Abdullah the ruler of Transjordan. Thus the two Hashemite princes became the ruler of semi-independent Arab states of Iraq and Transjordan, both of which were British mandates. The Arabs of Palestine, Syria, and Iraq felt that this simply had exchanged Turkish rulers for the British ones. Palestinians' resentment grew with the increasing number of Jewish immigration who were buying land in their country. The Jews were also getting in higher proportion the employment in government of Palestine. To the Arabs, the British appeared to be pro-Zionist. In May 1921, fighting broke out in Tel Aviv, which spread to Jaffa, in which 200 Jews and 120 Arabs were killed or wounded. This made British immediately halt the Jewish immigration and assure Arabs that only a part of Palestine would be made into a Jewish national home. Though the rate of immigration slowed down in the 1920s, yet the Jewish population doubled in 10 years after the war. By 1929, there were 1 million Arabs and 160,000 Jews living in Palestine, whereas in 1919 there had only been 60,000 Jews. In 1929, violence erupted in the city of Jerusalem over the control of holy places. Almost 133 Jews were killed over 4 days and 116 Arabs were killed, mostly by law and order agency. The root cause of violence was that Arabs were afraid of losing their country, as more of them had become landless and discontented. During the 1930s, the situation deteriorated further. Although the British ordered a reduction in Jewish immigration, that decision was reversed under Zionist pressure. By the time of World War II, there were some 300 Zionist colonies in Palestine. The 467,000 Jews who owned about 15% of the land made up almost 1/3 of the population. The Arab response was a national revolt. The Arab Higher Commission was formed in 1936, made up of urban notables at the head of leading families like Al-Husseinis of Jerusalem. In April 1936, the committee called for a general strike by all Arab workers and government employees. Taxes were not paid, local government broke down, and violence in all its forms increased. This time it was directed at both Jews and the British. The Jews fought back with the services of the Haganah, the Jewish Defense Force, and the terrorist organization like Irgun. The British responded by declaring martial law and increased the Palestine garrison to over 20,000 troops. One British officer, Orde Wingate, went as far as to prepare special night squads of Jews to attack Arab villages. Within 4 years, perhaps 5,000 Arabs had been killed and 15,000 wounded. The Arab revolt forced the British to accept the inevitable. They would not be able to prepare Palestine for independence as a single state. The Peel Commission report of 1937 recommended that Palestine be partitioned into Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem and neighboring holy places remaining under British control. Though the Jews cautiously welcomed the Peel proposal, Husseini and his advisors rejected it outright. The British then came up with another proposal: a Jewish homeland within an Arab state and strict limit on Jewish immigration. This compromise was turned down by both sides. By the outbreak of World War II, Palestine was in turmoil. During the war, moderate Arabs and Jews agreed to support Britain and its allies in their struggle against Nazis, and inter-community conflict died down considerably. Around 27,000 Jews and 25,000 Arabs, that was Arab Legion, fought with the British Army. With huge funds pouring in to support the cause, the economy flourished. One of the significant effects of World War II was to draw the USA deeply into Middle East politics for the first time. Like Britain, US also needed Arab oil and poured money into Saudi Arabia to keep it stable and on site. After emerging as one of the two superpowers after the war, it was in a position to put pressure on Britain to agree to a separate Jewish state and leave Palestine. Also, the Jewish population in USA support the Zionists in Palestine, who were about 4.5 million in population. Following a visit of Ben-Gurion, the leader of Jewish agency to the US, the support of Zionist demand gained widespread backing in the US. By the end of the war, as the full extent of horrifying Nazi slaughter of 6 million European Jews became known, the tide of support for Zionism ran even stronger. Both President Truman and the Congress, in April 1946, called on the British government to allow the immediate entry of 100,000 Jewish refugees to Palestine. 6 months later, he came out in support of the partition of Palestine. The British realized that further Jewish immigration would be resisted by the Arabs and lead to civil war, so they refused to agree to any increase in immigration. This led Haganah to do anything to obstruct the British and to assist the illegal immigration. Meanwhile, certain development took place in the Arab world for the Palestinian question. In 1945, Egypt organized an Arab League that comprised Egypt, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Transjordan, Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen. The League's purpose was to foster unity and cooperation among the Arab people. It established a higher committee to lobby against Zionism. We'll discuss the upcoming event in my next video. Keep watching.